Hi, who are you?
Hey, my name's Adriel.
Cool. And so we can get to know you a little bit, like what's your background? Like what do you do in life?
Yeah, definitely. So I work a very boring, typical job in operations for a tech company, for a music tech company, and for hobbies outside of this, I like to work out, but my main thing is boxing.
I think you mentioned you don't just box, but like you fight.
I do fight.
Is it like competitions?
I do fight competitions, amateur, and getting ready for my first pro fight in Egypt next month.
Can you tell us like a fun story about, or something that got you excited?
About boxing?
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's so much that gets me so excited about boxing. I mean, like, how I got into it is kind of very similar to how I got into Acroyoga. Started with somebody else. With Acroyoga, I got in with my ex-girlfriend I came to a class with. With boxing, I started with a friend, and you don't know what you don't know. Came in with no expectations and learned a lot. It was very humbling, which is like really exciting, especially if you're interested in like some type of challenge. And the first time I was boxing and working with my coach, we did sparring, and I had my jaw partially dislocated, and I was sitting on the ground, and I was thinking, do I actually really want to do this? And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do it. And here I am, almost 10 years later.
So something happened and actually like motivated you?
Yes, which is like completely opposite to like my experiences with Acroyoga, which is pretty nice. But it's, I think, like two different sports activities.
Can you like take us into a little bit like how dislocating your jaw is motivating?
That wasn't necessarily motivating. I think with certain activities, certain people are like, I think, drawn to it for whatever specific reason, or more cut out to participate in it. I think with boxing and all my experiences with that, it really tests you. It's a very lonely sport, and you're on your own most of the time, and you're one of two people in the ring taking a bunch of shots, and it's very mental and cerebral, as well as like the physical as well. But it tests you, and every day that you're in the ring, even when you're outside the ring and you're still thinking about it and you're prepping it and doing things to get ready for whatever fights you're getting ready for, it's all a test and all to build you into a hopefully better, more functional human being and athlete.
Mm-hmm. So you seem to like to getting tested. What's kind of fun or exciting about getting tested?
Well, I mean, it's also like very draining. Like I said, it's a very lonely sport, right? But I think people who enjoy it, especially myself, you do enjoy the challenges. I like achieving. I'm very end result oriented. I like success.
So you said boxing is very lonely, and acro is very social.
Yeah, I mean,
so it kind of seems like the opposite. Like, have you changed, or is it like another part to you?
I think it's just another part that I'm really exploring. You know, it's quite opposite. I mean, with boxing, it's very explosive. It's physically demanding in a different way, right? It is very isolation. You're isolated, right? It's one person versus the other person, and you're trying to do as much damage as quickly as possible, and you're trying to outsmart them in different ways. Whereas like Acroyoga, it's not about like how quick you can do, move and how explosive you have to. It's a different part of your brain that's thinking. You're like slowing down. It's like trying to figure out a puzzle, and while also like adjusting to another human being that's moving a very specific way, and make sure that you're a solid partner for them. So it's it's a lot more partner work and collaborative, which is pretty nice to experience.
So it almost sounds like acro is like an opposite to boxing. Is it like balancing out or complementary, or
I think
has it been like a shift for you where you start getting interested in other things?
You know, it's all of the above. It is a little bit of a shift. It is complementary, right? And it's somewhat opposite, right? I mean, with boxing, right, you have so many moves. You have like your 1, 2, 3, left, blah, blah, blah. And you don't know what the other person's going to be doing. And so you're using all these skills and your mental to try to figure out how to get that clean shot in, right? Similar with Acroyoga, right? You have like your structure, you have your framework, right? And you have the freedom within that framework, but you don't know how this person's going to move necessarily. They might be a little bit off balance, and so you have to like adjust to that. So in those ways, it's quite complementary, right? And not so like separate from each other. Obviously, like the brutality of one is completely opposite to the other one. But it's been a nice balance to like slow down and learn something, a new skill. Challenge.
I've actually met a lot of people that come from martial arts to Acroyoga, and one of them joked that in martial arts he was wrestling with people, getting them into positions they didn't want to be in. Mm-hmm. In Acroyoga, he gets wrestles them into positions, but they actually want to be in those positions.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, like with boxing, right? You're trying to outsmart them, right? You're trying to open them up in a certain way so that your game works, so I can get whatever shot in on them. But like you're right, with Acroyoga, you're trying to like solve that puzzle together.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious, like, it's an interesting contrast between boxing and Acroyoga. Can you describe like a peak moment that comes to mind in boxing and a peak moment in Acroyoga? Yeah. And what made it like a peak moment for you, like something that just like stuck in your mind?
For sure, yeah. I mean, the peak, there's two things that come to mind. With a fight, only one person can win, and having your arm raised at the end and getting your first win is absolutely amazing. It's the best high you'll probably ever feel. I didn't sleep for 2 days afterwards. As well as also getting like your first knockout with fighting. Like it's very surreal and it's very difficult to do, and it's something that you don't forget. Similarly with Acroyoga, right? You have all these tricks and these movements, and it's surprisingly difficult to even get into. I mean, like with the class, we start with like the basics, and we're just chunking all these different skills so that we can like actually learn how to like lift somebody up, how to base, how to support, how to be a proper like flyer. When you're able to achieve. I guess it goes back to like what I'm really interested in. I love achieving, I love success, and the challenges that come with both of these sports and activities. When you're finally able to do like that move that you saw on Instagram, or that you see other people are able to like achieve in class, and like finally be able to like piece that puzzle together, that it's a very similar high.
Yes. You talked about chunking, how you kind of learn pieces, you learn drills in order to build something. Mm-hmm. I find a lot of students often come in and they're very impatient. Mm-hmm. They just want to jump directly into something they want to do. And they often struggle for a long time because they don't have the foundations to actually succeed with it. Yeah. It seems like it takes some kind of, like you have to have had some experience or training or education to actually value like going through like the chunks of actually building things up. Mm-hmm. Like, how did you learn such a value in kind of like chunking things and having patience with the process?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's, so I work in operations, so I'm a computer. I think about like the plan from beginning to end, and the beginning on like smooth transitions and processes, so I think that's something naturally I can just like appreciate. But like if you take it back to like my other interests in sports, with like boxing, just like Acroyoga is very humbling in different ways, boxing is very humbling in different ways. And if you come in with your Tommy Tough Knuckles and you're just going to go in and do whatever with not realizing that it's an actual art and there's like actual steps to this, you're going to learn through getting your ass kicked. Versus with Acroyoga, just like you're saying, if you're not learning all the different steps and processes and just trying to rush into like all these fancy moves, you're not going to learn how to be safe for your partner, which I think is like super important, because you're actively working with somebody, and it's very important that you guys both leave like whole, the way that you guys came in. But you're also not going to achieve like the things that you really want to do, and like learning all the different moves and the washing machines and the sequences, and so you're really just cheating yourself. So like I think it's super important to slow it down, learn how to do it appropriately, so then that you're able to actually get to it. And then when you have those things mastered, then you get to actually actively put your style into it.
Cool. And you touched on something else earlier. You said after your first fight, you were like excited for 2 days afterwards. Like I'm learning more photography, and I was recently on a photo shoot, and I was completely riled up the next day still when I was like looking at the photos, and there's like a certain high and excitement that's like easy to get to kind of calm down. Like, can you talk a little bit more about your experience of that kind of, how did it feel to be so excited after a fight? Like the next day and the next evening?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like it's very difficult to explain. I think it's something you have to just really experience yourself, you know? But I mean, after I won, I remember my friends were carrying me on their shoulders, people chanting my name, me just knowing that I did great, having my hand raised at the end of the fight, you know? Stayed out most of the night, thought I would, you know, like you have to go through like weight cuts and like you're working out a bunch, you're also getting hit in the head and body. So you expect that like, okay, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna sleep. But I sat on my couch in my bed and I couldn't go to sleep, and stayed up, read comics, worked out some more until the sun came up, and then just went walking around like the city, walked across the bridges, and just like I was just a lot of it. If I really think about it, I was just thinking and replaying everything, and like there's a lot that goes into like the preparations for fighting, but also like acro yoga as well, right? There's all the preparations, there's the physical work to it, there's the mental work with it, there's the collaborations, there's the training, right? And so you do all of that for a short moment. You train for several months for 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the ring. You train for however long with Acroyoga to land a pose for 10 seconds, do a washing machine for 2 minutes, 5 minutes and such, you know? So like all the prep that really goes into it, it's monumental just for a very short but like exciting small moment that you get to hopefully reflect back on, you know?
It sounds like you've experienced working with a training program. Like there's a lot that goes into training for something for a month and having all the steps to go through it. And I think a lot of people, they kind of want more instant satisfaction.
Yeah.
And what was your process to going from kind of maybe, I don't know how you were before, but like, what's the process to go from more of like an instant satisfaction mindset where you want to go in a class and instantly want to do something amazing to realizing there's a lot of kind of dedicated work, process, structure, and kind of also self-discipline that goes into really achieving something great.
Yeah, definitely. I got my jaw dislocated. You know, I was injured. I went from doing not being a part of a sport to like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get in like a Billy Badass, right? So it's that humbling process, and like you know, so you'll get people that come in, like you see it in everything. I think, you know. People come in, they think that they're more experienced than they actually are, and then they fail, but it depends on their capacity, right? Some people go through that experience and like, it's not for me, and then they quit, which is probably the best for them, right? Because they'll probably end up getting themselves hurt, hurting somebody else, or ruining the experience overall, you know? So I think it's a capacity issue, and it's if you are willing and able to humble yourself a little bit and slow down, a lot of great things will come from it, you know?
It seems like the jaw dislocation kind of gave you a lot, like you said, it inspired you to really go with it.
Yeah.
You said it also gave you kind of, you said humble, you give you perspective on what's involved.
Yeah. Yeah. And also a little bit masochist.
Has there been like a moment in Acroyoga where you had kind of like a moment that transformed you or had like a big impact on how you look at things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like doing all the different jams. I started this with an ex, trying it out like on the beach, and then coming to like 1 year classes and like seeing like what I didn't know and like this flood of information. I think the community is like a huge part of it, which is awesome. Again, like the sport that I participate in is like quite lonely. It's just basically yourself and your coach, but like when you're in the ring, it's yourself getting hit quite a bit. Here, it's very collaborative. The way you have things like set up, I think it's like really great. Like you're chunking information, but you're learning it from people who are like learning it at the same time and also teaching it. So it's just like really ingrained. So it's a very full circle moment, which is really awesome. So like being able to like share that success with like your quasi like teachers is like pretty nice as well, like helping each other grow and like seeing that growth amongst each other.
You said there was a flood of information. Like if you put yourself back into like your first class, what are kind of like the big pieces of the flood that come to your mind? Like what are the big, without going to details, what are like kind of like the big information pieces that stand in your mind?
Definitely. I mean, like when going from like watching this on Instagram and then trying it out, and like failing to coming in class, like I'm a pretty big guy and like in shape, and so like when I was first trying it out, I was just like focusing on like just like using my strength in order to like hold up my partner, which obviously does not work. It's very technical, and so like learning all the different pieces that like chunk together so you're able to like safely and like properly hold somebody up for an extended period of time, that was like monumental, and like everything like clicked from there. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I was unable to like do this before, and now I can use this to then chunk onto that.
That's actually something I see a lot of times. Strengths, like physical strengths, can be both an advantage and disadvantage. Like obviously if you lift people, being stronger makes it easier. but it can also lead people to getting kind of like trapped into using just their strengths, and they never learn the technique, and then they kind of hit like an upper ceiling of what you can't do with strengths anymore, but they don't have the technique.
Yeah, agreed. Same thing with boxing. Same thing with most things, I think, any technical like sport or activity.
Cool. Let's do like a final question.
Cool.
Imagine your younger self or your son or daughter were going to go to their first Acroyoga class. What would you tell them? What kind of advice or would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say the same thing I also like teach boxing classes as well. Be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? You're going into something that you don't know, you have no idea where the ceiling's at. Trust the instructor, you're there for a reason. Be comfortable in being uncomfortable. It might seem awkward at first, you're learning all these new skills, you're learning how to move your body in a brand new way. It's supposed to feel weird, you'll learn how to adjust to it, and just put yourself out there.
Just one follow on. What was like an uncomfortable situation that comes to mind?
With Acroyoga?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean like the physical contact.
So physical contact,
I mean,
that's
like,
a big
it's
one for a
extended.
lot of people actually.
Yeah. It's extended physical contact and like learning how to like appropriately like move people and just like trusting that they have like your best interests like at heart, you know? So like it's very, you have to trust people.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
great.
you very much for the interview.
Thanks.
And thanks for coming to class.
Yeah, no, love it.